Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for organizing such a important webinar on a topic on such a day. So, without wasting time, I will just move into few of the points that I wanted to bring before the audience here and all the participants here. First thing, let's be very clear that we are living under a fascist regime. So there is no hiding fact here. We can't hide any fact, or we can't even deny it. We are living under a fascist regime. That is the first point we'll have to be very, very clear about. It's a fascist regime in India that we are living under. And wherever there is a fascist regime in the world, anywhere, wherever there were fascist regime, there is oppression, because oppression is the trademark of any fascist regime. You cannot expect any fascist regime to function without oppression. So if there is oppression happening in India, it's only and only because you are living under a fascist regime, and this is something is expected. Secondly, whenever there is a fascist regime, the option before the user or the people are only two. So you have either one option is you just have to close your eyes of all oppression that's happening, and don't comment on it, don't speak about it, and just try to be the cheerleader of the government. This is one very easy option before you. The second option before you is to speak up against the injustice, to speak up against whatever things you're seeing, the oppression and the atrocities that are happening. You have to speak up. So you have just two options: either to remain silent, become their cheerleaders, or you have to speak up. Now, if you opt for the first option, it's very easy. You don't have any trouble, you don't have any problem, you don't have any challenges, there won't be any issues for you. But if you opt for the second option, that is, if you want to speak against the injustice, if you want to speak against the atrocities, then there will be a lot of issues. You cannot expect mercy from a fascist regime. Anyone who calls himself as an activist, anyone who calls himself a person who wants to do something for the society, who wants to fight for the rights, who wants to fight for the protection of the rights, he has to have this clarity that he cannot expect any mercy from the fascist regime. Expecting mercy from the fascist regime itself is the most foolish thing a person can do who is called himself as a social activist. You cannot expect any mercy from them. Number two, even complaining doesn't make any sense. You can't complain because you cannot complain because they are doing what they are meant to do. That is their nature. That is how the fascists are. When you start this activity, when you are into activism, when you're fighting for justice, on day one you should know the fact that I am speaking against something that the ruling dispensation stands for. The moment I speak for those things, they won't show me any gratitude, they won't show me any mercy, and I can't even complain to them that why are you doing so and so thing for me? Why are you not showing, respecting my democratic values? Because they don't believe in democratic value. So for the people who don't believe in democratic value, we can't even complain to them that why are you not respecting my democratic value. So we can't expect any mercy from them, and we cannot even expect to be safe. Finally, there is nothing called as comfort zone activism. If some people think that there is something called as comfort zone activism, where you will do activism, you will fight for the rights of the people, you will speak against the oppression that is happening, and you will be very safe. There won't be any problem for you. So, such type of comfort zone activism doesn't exist. At least in India, it doesn't exist. You don't have any such option anywhere available before you. Even the people who used to sit at their houses and were thinking that at least I can't go onto the streets, I'll be sitting at my AC room, I'll be using social media as part of my activism, I'll be a little bit safe in social media, but even they are not safe now, because even whatever you do, whatever you speak in social media, you'll face uh, the heat. They will come after you. So nothing is safe. So let's be clear. Let's be clear into one thing, that when you are opposing a fascist regime, be ready for whatever issues are going to come, and expect it. Because when you expect it, the fear within you will go away. The fear begins comes when we don't expect any such problem. We expect that nothing is going to happen. They're not going to touch me. They're not going to give any problem to me, or they're not going to destroy my life, or they're not going to put me behind the jails. Something might happen. They'll arrest me. I'll go inside that van and I'll come back. But those situation is gone. You will be targeted, and you have to be prepared for that. Every morning when you wake up, you have to wake up thinking that today, as I'm speaking against oppression, as I'm speaking for people's rights, as I'm speaking for the protection of the constitutional right, the people who hate the constitutional right are going to target me today. The target can be anything. Either they'll physically attack you, or they'll use all sort of the government machineries against you, or they'll put a lot of pressure, political pressure, or all type of things on you. So you have to be prepared. So this is the first rule before anyone who wants to do something for the betterment of the society, or who wants to do for the betterment of the protection of the our constitutional rights. This is number one. Number two, you're talking about emergency. There is already emergency in India. It's an undeclared emergency. See, the ones who are ruling in India, they're not stupid people that they go ahead and once they'll start declaring emergency. They know very well that declaring an emergency for the world's biggest democracy will be suicidal for them. So they won't come all of a sudden like the previous rulers who have done, who announced emergency. This dispensation will not do it. The RSS or the BJP, they will never announce emergency, but they will do everything they can using the loopholes in the system to impose an undeclared emergency. What is an undeclared emergency? Everything that is going to happen in emergency will happen to you in the name of democracy. People, you can't even complain. You can't even explain it to others why it's happening to me. Your rights will be targeted. Your citizenship will be challenged. You'll be thrown behind the bars. Fabricated cases will be put on you. And even though you know you are innocent, the people know you are innocent, but to prove you're innocent and just get you out of bail will take years. So this is what is going to happen. Okay, this is what is going to happen, because many people say that during the emergency, many activists were put behind the bars, and after the emergency was lifted, they came in. But now, if you see, we have people who are inside the jails, who are behind the bar for almost the same period that the emergency was imposed. Like it was for 19 months, and we'll have some people here and there in India who are behind the bar for more than 19 months just because of speaking for the rights, just for criticizing the anti-people policies of the BJP government. So whatever used to happen in the emergency period is happening now without declaring emergency. We are living in an undeclared emergency situation in India. And this government may declare emergency when it suits their political needs. So if they think that declaring emergency suits them, they'll declare it. But other than that, they won't declare it, because whatever they want, their purpose has been served without declaring it. Now, this government has become a very predictable government. Okay, they have become very predictable, especially the BJP regime, or I can say that RSS regime, because it's the RSS that is ruling India by proxy, by keeping some of the stooges in front, and it's the RSS that is ruling India. So they have become very predictable. What's predictable is they have a standard operating procedure of how to target dissent. It's a standard operating procedure. They've mastered into it. They have each and every step put it into place. And no matter what happens, where it happens, the same standard operating procedure will come into picture. I'll give you 3 examples through which you'll come to know what is the standard operating procedure. The standard operating procedure will be, number 1, whoever speaks against any policy of the government, you have to destroy his credibility. So how do you destroy his credibility? You destroy his credibility by labeling him something. Any name. You can create a name. If you're not happy with some old names, you can come with some new names. Like the Tukde Tukde gang was a new innovation. You'll have something called as love jihad, love jihadi. Now you come up with land jihadi. You come up with some innovative labels will come. So the first thing will be, don't allow the people to take them seriously. Label them something, destroy their credibility, so no one will believe them. So this is the first thing. Number 2, create a violence, attacking this people's movement, and then justify the action against them. So any peaceful movement that's happening anywhere in India, violence will be created by the agencies. We have to be very clear in saying that they will create violence. Number 2. Number 3, once they are arrested all the draconian laws will be used to crush them, whether it's UAPA, whether it is the Money Laundering Act, whether it is the NSA, all these draconian laws are only in place only to trouble you. So they'll use each and every draconian law to target you after you're arrested. And number three, when these key people are arrested or behind the bars and who are facing all these draconian acts on them, at that time destroy these people movements in their absence. So this is the standard operating procedure that is being used. Number one, you delegitimize the movement by destroying their credibility, create violence and book them, arrest the people claiming them the perpetrators of violence. Number three, put all sort of fabricated cases using the draconian law. And number two, in the absence of the leaders and the activists, destroy that movement. So this is the standard operating procedure that is being done in India. Just take three examples, I'll tell you. There were three very important movements in India after the BJP came to power. There are many, but I can think of three major things which could have been made a lot of difference in the Indian society. Number one was the Bhima Koregaon issue. The Bhima Koregaon movement that started in Maharashtra, basically every year when they commemorate the Bhima Koregaon incident, it was like a pride for the Dalit activists. The Dalit people used to talk about pride, remembering a war in which a Dalit army defeated the Peshwa army. In a situation where untouchability was prevalent. During that time, they are remembering about their forefathers claiming that they defeated the Dalit army under the British, who were in the British army, defeated the Peshwa army, who were Brahmins. And they were celebrating this incident, calling that this is a very pride moment for Dalits. And year on year, if you see that the attendance and the mass for this Bhima Koregaon was increasing year on year on. So now how to stop this? How to stop this movement that is bringing confidence among the Dalits? We saw violence getting created. The same first thing will be they will call you by all names. They will delegitimize you. They will destroy your credibility. Number one, all the people who are in that movement, they were either called Naxals, they were either called Maoists, they were either called people who are foreign funded. So they tried to demolish their credibility. When it didn't work, violence was created, and the people who were the victims, they themselves were made the culprits. And all the leaders were arrested, even the people who were not related to this movement, but they were in their hit list. They were in the hit list of various government agencies, various security agencies. Those people were somehow linked. Some Sudha Bharadwaj, some Stan Stanley, some people who were related or not related at all to this movement. They were also targeted because they wanted an opportunity to completely demolish the Dalit movement and the movements led by progressive people in India, the progressive activists. And then the third step come into picture, all sort of draconian laws were imposed on them, and still we see that they are in jail. So you see the chronology. Now compare this with what happened with the CA. They tried to defame the CA protest. All the activists who were in the CA protest, they called them anti-nationals, they called them Pakistan sponsored, they called them terrorists, they called them a hell lot of names. What happened after that? When they could not break that movement, Delhi violence happened, and Delhi violence was not a random incident. It was a planned act by the BJP RS. It was planned. There are a lot of proofs that it was planned. Why it was planned? Because they wanted to create a violence, and they wanted to put the blame of the entire violence on all the activists who were leading the CA protest. And that happened. All the people who are active in CA, where are they? You cannot book them for CA. You'll book them for Delhi violence. They were booked on the Delhi violence crime. The victims themselves are made the culprits. All draconian laws were put on them. And all the major activists were behind the bars. There was lockdown announced. Now what you do is you don't even allow people to come out and protest. You come up with laws that if you protest, we'll seize your property. So what this entire process was tried to completely derail and demolish the CA protest. And finally, see the farmers' protest. The same thing was done. The leaders were first, the farmer activists were first defamed as Khalistani. Secondly, there was a violence that was created, and all the leaders of the farmers' leaders were booked with UAPA, and now they tried to demolish the farmer's mouth. So this is a standard operating procedure that's happening, and this will keep happening. So now, if you are a social activist, if you are fighting for some social cause, or if you want to protect the constitution, if you are speaking against some of the anti-people policies of the government, then be ready to be labeled. There will be label on you. Don't think that they won't label you. Don't think that they will, whatever message you're giving, they will allow that message to be communicated. No, they will defame you. They will delegitimize you so that your message will not be taken seriously. Now, how they will do it is they can go to any extent to, they will go to any extent to fabricate it. All the services of imaginary script writers will be taken. You might have seen that in Gujarat violence, what happened is after the Gujarat riots, a lot of various organizations conducted reports, and in all the reports, it's clear that it was the BJP RSS who committed the Gujarat violence. But now, if you come to Delhi and what happened to Bangalore DJLE, you might have seen that the RSS-sponsored intellectuals are coming in, creating reports. They are coming in with fact-finding reports, and what happened is that fact-finding reports become the charge sheet. You go and see the charge sheet in Bangalore DJLE rights. You go and see the charge sheet in the Delhi rights. The charge sheet is nothing but the copy and paste of the report that were prepared by the RSS group. The RSS group prepared they call it as a fact-finding report. The same fact-finding report prepared by the RSS group was copied and pasted in the charge sheet. So fabrication will happen there. Not just fabrication. There will be planting of evidences. Fake, to justify their fabrications, they have to plant evidence. I can tell you, in our case, in Popular Front of India's case, two of our members, Anshar and Feroz, who were in Bihar. From Bihar, they were traveling to their hometowns, and they had gone there for some of our expansion work. When the train moved from Bihar and it entered UP, they were arrested in UP, kept under illegal custody for 6 days. They were tortured, and only when a police case was filed in their hometown by their family member that Firoz and Arshad were missing, the police came up with a fabricated story with all planted evidence saying that these people were having weapons, these people are having explosives, these people are having all sort of explosive conducted terrorist strike. So this is what is going to happen. So let's not think that they can't frame me because I'm clean. No, you will be clean. They'll plant this thing in your houses. They'll come and plant such things in your houses. They'll come and create a fabricated stories. They have script writers who will write imaginary stories, and that stories will be used in the charge sheet. And to justify those charge sheet, evidences will be planted. This is what will happen. This is what is happening. And finally, what we are saying, the media will support it. The media will not even question this. Just take the case of Siddiq Kapan. Siddiq Kapan and 3 others have been arrested. The 2 leaders of Campus Front have been arrested. For what they have been arrested? That they were planning, they were supposed to go and create riots. Where was the violence? There was no violence. There was no riots. There was no issue happened. The issue never happened. They didn't even reach Hathras. So they are behind the bar, okay, for an imaginary violence that was supposed to happen. And who is Siddiq Kapan? Siddiq Kapan, he is a secretary of a respected journalist union. He is not someone like whom we can say, "Bhai, koi student, activist, no, aapke aage piche koi bhi nahi." He is a respected journalist working and being with other respected journalists. He is secretary of a respected journalist union. If such type of people are arrested and the media are calling him a terrorist, the media are calling him a dubious figure, what can we expect? So leave aside. So the media will always follow what the government's narrative is. And not just the media, even the people will believe. Sometimes you may be thinking that when the government is saying such type of lies, when the security agencies are making such type of fabricated cases, why the people will believe it? So it's nothing to do with the BJP or something. You might remember that during the UPA government, when Shivraj Patil was the home minister, many Muslim youths were arrested in the name of terrorism. Many Muslim youths were arrested. And there was a trend of arresting Muslim youths. What happened to those Muslim youths? Most of them were acquitted after being in jail for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years. After that, they were proved to be innocent. But just remember, no one knows what happened to them. After they come out, no one cares for them. But when they were arrested on fabricated charges, at that time, everyone believed what the security agencies were saying. The media supported it. No one questioned them. So this happened not just during the BJP time, it also happened during the UPA time. So now we have a government which is expert in lies, which is expert in fabricating cases, which is expert in all this jumla baji. So they will create such type of scenario where they will create a story and you will be proved as the culprit, and they'll make people to believe it because they know very well how to play with the fear of the people. They will present you as a threat to the nation. They will present you as a danger to the nation. They will create such an image of yours that they will try to create fear among the people that look, we are taking action on these people because they are a threat to the nation. So this is what the trend is going to happen. This is what is happening. So now again, what I'm trying to say is come back to my point. Number one, okay, this is what is happening, and this is what is going to happen. So if someone is really serious in confronting the anti-people policies or any oppression or any violation of human rights, whether it be Citizenship Act or whether it be the atrocities on students or on farmers or on Dalits or on Adivasis or on minorities, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. The government has ensured that they have ensured with all the standard operating procedure that they will try to make people silent. So now, if you want to speak against it, you have to be prepared for it. You have to be prepared for the worst. But just remember one thing: only the brave will come forward. And I'm really happy that I am today sitting with a panelist here who are the most brave people in India. The panelists who are here today are the people who are the most brave people. And I'm damn sure that after 20, 50 years, when the country will remember that such type of fascist regime was ruling in India, we had a panel, we had people in India who are not afraid for all the issues. We are not afraid of uh, all the atrocities that are going to happen on them, and they were very, very confident dealing with them. So this is what option we have. Let us expect the worst. Let us expect that what a fascist regime can do, and let us be prepared to face it, because protection of democracy is an important task for us. We got democracy because what our forefathers have done for sacrifices of theirs. Now it's our responsibility when we are passing on this country to the next generation. Let's ensure that democracy exists, the constitutional rights exist. As before me, Punyani sir said, see, I'll conclude with that. There will be a lot of difference of opinions, lot of difference of opinion between different groups. Some of the policies of one groups will not be accepted to others, or the policies of one individual will not be accepted to others. But we need to have a common minimum program. Okay, because now in such a scenario, when day by day our constitutional rights are being snatched, in such time, instead of concentrating in the protection of constitutional right, if we come up with points like I won't work with that person, I won't work with this person, then I think there is no bigger tragedy than that. Okay, then one needs to be, we need to have a permanent understanding. There needs to be a permanent understanding between all the secular forces, all the forces who are here to protect democracy, and have a common meaning program and be ready to face this phase so that we can protect democracy. Again, with these things, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me the time. And if I've exceeded the time, I would really like to apologize for that. Thank you.